So I wanted to come and do a live stream. It's been a while. But there's been a theme in my calls, in my sessions lately, and that has to do with the no, the high feminine. No, her blade. And really the one single thing where all of your feminine power lies. And it's that one simple stance. Her no. Now, I just got off a call with a client who, not really a client, we had a session which ended in me saying no to working with him. And there's something that I said to him at the end of that call that I want to talk to you about. And that is that the point that everybody has to reach in order to ever not only wield the sword of the high feminine, but to activate the high masculine is the point where you would rather have nothing and get nothing and have nothing come ever again than surrender. Period. You get to the point where you would rather say no to every single thing that is not a complete, unimaginable turn on than surrender 1 second longer. That's the point where your no actually gets activated. That's when it holds. That's when it holds. Really, there's no more to it. That's period. The no has to be a no. It's not a no now, not now, maybe later. It's a no. No matter what happens after the no, no matter what tries to come in the form of the wimpy fucker, it has to be a no that holds. It was something he said. Let me think. So we were talking about his business, or rather the business that he was a part of. And I asked him if every single individual part of it, the way they did things, the people that they took in, all the individual parts of it were a turn on for him. And he was wiggling in his seat, thinking about it. And he ended up saying no. They're not all a turn on. And proceeding with a bunch of buts to justify his surrender to those things. And one of them was the level of clients that he was working with. Because he was not the one making the decisions of who to take on, who to coach. And he was under the illusion that it was not his place to say no to working with people that were not a turn on. And he also ended up asking, how do you turn down a person that clearly needs help just because it's not a turn on for you to work with them. Like, how do you say no to someone that needs help? How do you justify the lack of the turn on? I don't know if you see the how twisted that idea is in that question. Like how morphed it actually is, how backwards the thinking is. Because when you say no to someone that's not a turn on, you're actually helping them. Saying yes to someone that is not a huge turn on is you taking on someone that doesn't need your help, that doesn't need you, that doesn't need your art. It is not the thing that they require in that moment. Saying no to something that is not a turn on is extremely hard for people for a bunch of reasons. For the reasoning that the swampy feminine puts behind the decision to say yes to something, to surrender to something, to justify the surrender. And in doing so, she ends up creating a container for something that was never supposed to happen. It's something that is a manufactured, artificial thing that is not an actual experience for anyone. That is in fact wasting your time and their time. All because you don't trust your turn on. And you don't trust your no. Same thing with relationships. Same thing with anything. And there's also the question of how do I want to explore this? But like he said, he just doesn't know how to say that to someone. Like say no. Doesn't know how to say no to someone. Is that what you're saying? Isn't it funny how the swampy feminine makes something that simple so complicated? It's a no. Right? And the turn on for the high feminine, or he's high feminine, specifically in this case, is to say the no in the sharpest possible way. But there's so much matter in that simple stance. What if it hurts them? What if it means something about them? What if it means something about you? You mentioned he was clear that it wasn't a turn on, but he doesn't know how to say no to someone who needs him. Yeah, well, right, that's the thing. They don't actually need him. That's why the turn on is not there. If they, or if he was the right person to collapse that person's paradigm, the turn on would be there. So the entire thing is not even about how do you say no or if they need him or not. It's about him not trusting his turn on. And when you don't trust your turn on, when you don't trust the turn off or the lack of a turn on, in other words, your no, you also don't trust your yes. And with the masculine, you can think of it from the lens of a kid that wants something really bad. Something that they don't need, something that's not good for them. And we all know that parent who says no, but the energy is not there. So they end up arguing with a kid because that no doesn't hold. And more often than not, that parent ends up giving in and saying yes to what the kid wants. Same thing with the feminine. Saying no to the wimpy fucker that wants to climb into the bed. Because it's not about what's happening in the physical. It's not about the client. It's not about the thing that you want to say no to, that is not a turn on. It's always about the energetic meaning and what's happening in the energetics. What's happening in the energetics, regardless of what is the actual physical thing and the experience that you're having right now, where your no is required. What you're really doing is you're saying no to a wimpy fucker. And if your no doesn't hold, that wimpy fucker is going to climb into the bed with you. And you're going to lock that frequency of masculine in to your field. And then you're wondering why the provision is not what you want it to be. And it's simply because you said yes to the wimpy fucker. In other words, you didn't say no to what was not a turn on. And if there's one thing about these energetics that you want to hone and sharpen into perfection, it is the no of the high feminine, and learning and mastering how to yield. Wield. Is it yield or is it wield? Someone tell me, because I'm very confused right now. Like when you wield a sword, it's wield, right? Answer me so that I can continue. Thank you, Mandy. Yeah. This is the one thing that you want to really master how to wield. Is the no. And at first, yes, it is a very simple, a very clear, a very sharp no. Just no. Because at first, there's a lot of tension to simply say no without giving an explanation, without justifying it, in any way, not to the other person or the thing, but to yourself. Actually trusting the no and letting it be as simple as that and as sharp as that. But after that, the no actually becomes the most versatile thing on the planet because there are millions of ways of playing with the no. It gets more precise. And with that, there's an endless amount of possibilities when you feel a no in your field. If it's towards a prospect, let's say, it no longer is simply saying no to the prospect. It could be let's take examples. Different ways that I've used to say no to a prospect that was not a turn on. Giving them a very high price, for example. Something that I knew would collapse them out of my field. Because when it's a no for you, when it's not a turn on, and it's never about the person, right? It's not about the prospect. The same way that it was not about him that I said no to working with him. It was about the energy that was active in his field in that moment. So he could come back tomorrow or an hour from now in a different energy. And it could very well be a turn on for me. It's never about the person. These energetics are not personal. And nothing means anything about anyone. Because it's all about energy. But an example could be giving them a prize that is an actual turn on for you, that you also know will collapse their swampy feminine. And probably them out of your field for a time. Because it doesn't matter to you if you get the client or not. Or disrupting something that is an illusion for them, or that matters to their swampy feminine in a very, very precise way, because it doesn't matter to you how they respond. It doesn't matter to you if they like you. It doesn't matter to you. Nothing matters to you. So you're free to play with the no. You're free to express the no in a way that turns you on. It becomes very, very multifaceted, if you could call it that. There's infinite possibilities with the no when you know how to wield it. Something I also want to address, because lately I've had a lot of people come to me who have already played with the energetics and have actually started with the no in their field. And everybody ends up saying that they've said no to everything in their field already. Like, there's nothing more to say no to because they've already said no to everything. Raise a hand if you've been there. I know at least, Mandy, at some point you've said this to me, that you've already said no to everything. That no is that a yes, you've said no to everything on her? Because we both know for a fact that that's not true. I was there once upon a time, I was wrong. What do you mean? Like you hadn't actually said no to everything, or that you used it the wrong way? Right, you thought, okay, yeah, right. Hmm. There's been, right, so how many weeks? So there's two things about this that I want to address. I'm gonna do it in the form of a story of sorts. Because for the past, let's say, 3-ish weeks, all I've really had in my field has been no. Not really a turn on of any kind towards anything new. Especially on the business front. So I've been working with my horse. I've been just doing a lot of things that have nothing to do with with my business or even my relationship or anything that was a turn on for me last year. Because the turn on has shifted away from those things. And that doesn't mean that there's no action there. It doesn't mean that those things go dormant. Because when you have a frame, even if you step away from your business or from your relationship, those things they keep going without you. You don't have to be energetically present and holding it together, which is amazing because you don't have to work on the thing and it still keeps growing and going without you, which is really the magic of the no in the high feminine, is that she actually has to be energetically absent, which means you get to be energetically absent. You get to be consciously absent. You don't have to hold the things. But for the past 3 weeks, I've said no to pretty much everything that has come into my field, with an exception of posting one offer. Like if I think about actual physical actions that I've taken. And, well, working with the clients that I have right now. But other than that, everything in my business, everything that I used to do, everything that used to turn me on, has been a no for me. And when this happens, a lot of the times people start doubting that no, or doubting themselves because suddenly something is a no. Instead of playing with the no, instead of actually submitting to the no. The no for the swampy feminine, it means something. It means a lot of things, actually. It means that something's wrong. It means that you might be wrong. It means that there's something that needs to be done or shifted or worked on. There's a lot of matter in the no. Instead of, or if your swampy feminine takes, well, if she takes on the no, if she starts playing with the no, and now we're talking about the swampy feminine. If you let your swampy feminine take a catch of the no, she might start to physically say no to just everything, like avoiding everything, not doing anything with anything, and just passively saying no to everything, getting rid of everything, instead of playing and disrupting the things that are a no. And there's a massive difference in the energy of that. One is passive, and the other one is very active, and it's an active form of play. And more than play, it's a toying of and with the thing that you're saying no to. Just like, as opposed to just saying no to a person, collapsing them out of your field, or the energy out of your field, by toying with the illusion, by toying with the thing that is not a turn on. Not with the person, but with the specific energetic thing that your high feminine naturally pinpoints out of everything, out of the whole picture. She can pinpoint the exact thing that is not a turn on and toy with that and disrupt that. Where was I? Right. So 3 weeks of saying no to everything and not getting anything new. I haven't been posting. I haven't been putting out new offers. I haven't been doing master classes. Nothing really that I did last year has been a turn on. And that would worry most people, or they would get anxious about the inaction. But instead, when you recognize that no for what it is, which is really, it's raising the quality of the masculine in your field. That is what the no does. And that's all it does. That's why it exists. There was a massive upgrade that my high feminine required of the active masculine in my field. Hence the no spree that I had. No turn on to create anything new. No turn on to say anything apart from a few comments that I made. I've been very inactive. And now that no that I said to that person, which was really, there was a lot of tension in it, because this person is well known in his respective field. And in the past, I would have probably killed to work with him. And my swampy feminine briefly came up saying, you have to work with him because XYZ reason. Because of his image, because of his reputation, because of all the things. But the fact was that his energy was not a turn on. And if the energy is not a turn on, there's nothing for your high feminine to play with. Which is all she wants to do. Which is why the no exists. There's nothing to play with for her. And you know that if you go against that no, if you say yes, despite the lack of turn on, your high feminine will not show up. It's a container. It is serious. There's matter. You do it because of an outcome. And your high feminine will not step foot in that container, no matter what you try to do. So I said no. And immediately after, suddenly, a massive turn on to work again. Like, to be physically present in my business again. Do you ever get angry and a no comes from that? Or are you beyond feelings like that? I don't get angry. But that's I don't get angry, but that's because I actually trust my no. An emotion like anger comes from, and frustration comes because you've overextended your no. Like you've surrendered, even though you've known that the thing is a no. And the longer you surrender after sensing that something is a no, the more unstable your energy becomes. And eventually you get angry or frustrated. But for me, it doesn't come to that. Because as soon as something is a no, I say no. It's interesting how people who work with anger management issues and they try everything to manage that anger. Like they go out of their way to do something that is so simple. Like it's as simple as actually saying no when you feel that something is a no. Hmm. I'm curious, um, Mandy, when you say that you thought you said no to everything, but you hadn't said no to everything, what were you overlooking? I said no to people and things, but not my own swampy shit. Mm, yeah. Yeah. So just as you have to submit to the KNOW and the knowing before you can wield that knowing with other people and collapse things with it, you also have to submit to the no, the NO, first before doing it in some other area. That's actually kind of like, so I've been thinking about this through decluttering a lot lately because my past and my history is in decluttering before I started coaching. And also because I did massive declutter of, well, my clothing basically and my wardrobe. And it's like you say no to the clothes, like piece by piece. Start with like socks or something small like that. And you overlook the fact that actually the entire wardrobe, like the physical wardrobe, is not a turn on, and you should just burn that shit down first. Like you build up to the no that you actually need to say by saying no to all the little things that don't really matter. But the way that you actually sharpen the no is you start with the biggest thing that holds the most matter, the one that actually holds a lot of tension. If something is a no, like moving, and it takes a bit to actualize the no, can you hold the energy of the no and still be physically in the situation creating the no? Yes. But in order to do that, yeah, actually, it's better to be physically in the situation before you say no to the thing. Because before you say no to the actual physical thing, which is the old living condition, the living place where you live, you have to make that not matter before you say no. And you actually play with not making anything in it or about it matter. And then when it's clean, then you can wield the no. If that's still a turn on to do. But in most cases, and this is like a relationship, for example, a marriage, same thing goes for the living somewhere that is not a turn on. I've said this before, but people end up divorcing their partner and saying no to the entire relationship, mostly completely unnecessarily. Instead of making the relationship and everything that matters not matter, they end up just walking away from the entire thing. And that does not collapse anything. It does not disrupt anything because the matter is still there. And then they will carry that matter to the next relationship. So they end up saying no to something that is actually a turn on when it's clean. It's not the physical thing that's not a turn on. It's the matter that's in it that prevents it from being a turn on. Hundreds of journals. Got rid of them all one night. Hmm. So what to do when your partner is a wimpy fucker? Right? Two ways to go about it. Or two ways to go about saying no. One, you actually physically walk away. Two, which was my case, because I knew on some level, and actually not just some level, but I knew, I had the knowing that he was the person that was a huge turn on for me. He had the potential to be my unmatch, and that I actually wanted to be with him. I just didn't want to be around the energy that he was in, is that you stay in your own high feminine in that relationship no matter what. You do not surrender to anything. You do not hold space for him and his wimpy fucker or his swampy feminine. You do not do anything that is not a turn on. You play your own game. You start playing your own game within that relationship, which ends up breaking the container. It will collapse the container. At which point, one of the two things will happen. One, he's going to collapse and physically walk away. Or two, your high feminine disrupting his swampy feminine will actually activate his high masculine and he will rise up to be your unmatch. But it has to not matter which one it is. Like, that actually has to not matter. You have to get to the point where you would rather be without him, because it's not about him, but you will not surrender to that energy. So you'd rather be without than surrender to the energy. And it has to not matter if he walks away. So you have to kill the attachment to wanting him to stay. Otherwise, you will always limit your actions, your expressions, and yourself to match him so that he will not leave. And that creates a container. That is a container right there. Because there's a limit to how far you're willing to go, what you're willing to say, what you're willing to do. You are the high feminine no matter what. Play your own game. Yeah. It's never about anyone else anyway. Even if and when you're in a relationship, it's never about them. It's still you playing your own game. And it's them playing their game. But the high feminine and the high masculine never play the same game. They do not play one game together. They never get into each other's games. They never let the other come into their game. That's what I've been trying to do when he's been getting so angry. Let him get angry. But do not go into the emotion with him. Do not hold space for his swampy feminine. That's his swampy feminine. Getting emotional, collapsing. You have to see what's happening in the energetics behind what's happening in the physical. That's how you will be able to stay unattached to what's appearing to happen in the physical. When you know what's happening energetically in his field. And all that's happening when he's getting angry is that his swampy feminine is collapsing because his swampy feminine cannot relate to you in that moment because there's nothing in the high feminine to relate to. Which means that actually he has to stand on his own. And the swampy feminine cannot do that. It's not possible for her to stand on her own. She needs a container. And you're refusing to provide that container to him and his swampy feminine. How to kill the attachment. The attachment to what? Hi son, how is your baby? The baby's good. The human baby is good. The dog baby is good also. They're both growing. Fuck matchy matchy. The high feminine will not match anything, anyone under any circumstance. Ever. What do you mean not play each other's game? Is that directed towards me or Honor? How does this apply to business? We can talk about that. To stop caring about anything he says or does. Right, you have to know that what you're saying, what you're doing, is the truth. And this is, it comes down to trusting yourself, but it also comes down to knowing what is the truth. Like you can sense it in your body, but you have to trust it. Because when you know something, when you actually know something, it doesn't matter what anyone else says or does. It doesn't matter how they react to the truth. It doesn't matter if they believe it. You have no desire whatsoever to prove the truth to anyone in any way, because there's nothing to prove. It's kind of like if you were the only person on Earth who knew that the Earth was round and not flat. But you knew it, like you had actual proof. Let's say you had walked the entire, you've gone to space and you've seen that it's round, and everybody else thinks that it's flat. Now, if that was just a theory of yours, you would go out of your way to prove to everybody that what you're saying is true. But because you've experienced it and you actually have the knowing, it really doesn't matter to you if anyone else believes it, because you know that that's true. Same thing with your partner. I had multiple occasions where I had to speak the truth to him. He would go, okay, so he would have an emotional breakdown about something that was a complete illusion. How do I make this more specific? It's been so long that I don't really even have a specific example. Actually, it doesn't matter, because the answer to that is actually the same as to everything else about this. You play your own game. The way to stop caring about anything he says or does is by you submitting to what you know. When you submit to what you know, when you submit to the truth, it becomes very easy to not care about what he says or does, because you've already submitted to the thing. You already know. So you have no emotional attachment. You have no desire to get into his space or to hold space for him, because you know that it's an illusion. Do you and your husband ever have long conversations, or are words used less and less? Because it's all just energy anyways, so discussions aren't really needed. We do have long conversations. it's just not about, it's just about different things now. It's it's funny because it's not about problems anymore. It's also not about dreams. We used to have long discussions about dreams and goals and everything, and we don't have that anymore because neither of us have goals or dreams. It's more about something new that is coming to one of us, and then we talk about it. And we both, it's kind of a mastermind between the two of us. Like we both work at the edge of our consciousness. And usually those conversations end up being absolutely mind blowing for both of us. And we realize something completely new about something. And usually those are about things or areas of our lives that we've not really consciously applied the energetics to yet. So, for example, well, it's been a while since we had this, but a few months ago we really started talking about dogs. We have 3 dogs. So the illusions that people have about, training dogs or raising dogs or breeding them, and we just end up disrupting like entire paradigms in our conversations, and it's really fun. But we don't really have, like, if someone normal were to listen in on our conversations, they would not get it. But to us, it's fun. Hmm. Actually, I want to hold a master class about this. The no. How to wield it, how to sharpen it, how to raise the quality, and how it applies to business, relationships. Hmm. Just 2-3 hours of no. That would be fun. Because if you have a sharp no, everybody around you listens to you. Everybody around you respects you. And also, they respect your yes in a way that, yeah, your no is really the key to getting clients. It's the key to amazing relationships. It's a key to ease, really, in life. Simplicity and ease, and not having to do a lot of things or hold a lot of things. And what happens to most people and what they do is they use way too much of their feminine instead of simply using their no. They end up diluting it, they end up making it palatable and accessible and just weak. And therefore, everything and everybody can just walk all over them. Because of one reason, that their no is not sharp. I'm burping a lot. Isn't that playing together though? No. It's so every day we come together to play our own games. But it's not, we don't play together. He doesn't play my game. I don't play his game. He stays devoted to his own high masculine. I stay devoted to my own high masculine. And if he ever goes into his swampy feminine, I will not hold space for it. And I'm not gonna go into it in any way. I just hold a frame for him to get out of it. And that doesn't mean that I leave physically. It's that I refuse to engage with his swampy feminine. Are you and Tatiana still going to do a live as well? About the swampy feminine? I don't know. It's kind of, not really a turn on right now. But it could happen. But that's the thing, right? Me and Tatiana, we haven't really been talking for like 6-7 weeks now. We're still extremely intimate and close, and nothing, has happened. But there's no, there's nothing between us. So maybe it could happen, but right now we're not doing anything together. Yes to the no masterclass. I'm gonna put out some details about it. And let's see what fun we can make of it. Okay, this has been fun. And, yeah, I'll see you all later.